Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Brokers Open Podcast. I'm Dr. Ben Spears, the Doctor of Flow. I'm here with the big guy, as usual, Matt Vine. How's it going, Matt?
Doing absolutely fantastic. Excited about our guest. Had a great guest yesterday that was on, so a lot of good stuff going on. So let's keep it moving. Let's keep the momentum going.
Absolutely. So we have, from the other side of the country, we have Caroline Hobbs, who's the broker owner of Reward Realty. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on today.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you for sure. Guys, I'm really excited for all of our listeners because if you guys are looking for a reason to say, gosh, how can I display my value? How can I bring that customer experience to an entirely new level? You're 100% in the right place because this is what Caroline is an absolute rock star with. But before we do that, I want to know how she even got into real estate in the first place. We love getting that backstory first. So if you don't mind, tell us, how did you get into real estate?
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty much the only career I've ever known. My grandfather worked in real estate. He was a builder. My mother sold new homes as a child and then moved into the financing side of things. And here I swore never to get into the business. But in college, while I was a hungry student, I found a gig on the weekends hosting open houses for a local realtor. And it was a slippery slope. Found myself licensed a couple of years later.
Gotcha. Absolutely love that. And so I know something that is really important to you. I alluded to it just a second ago. It's really important to you is that customer experience. And so even looking at your website and learning a little bit more about you and your brokerage, that is essentially seems like the foundation of everything that you do.
Absolutely. We aim to bring value to our clients in a multitude of different ways throughout the transaction, every single transaction. Each client is unique, so their struggle is unique as well. Some people are a little bit anxious throughout the process. Others are in dire need to get something closed and get cash in their pocket for whatever reason. I think the first thing is really listening to your clients, listening to what their needs are, and forming what we call our Care Bear plan around those clients, making sure that we make the process as smooth as possible for them.
Yeah, so love that. Whenever it comes to making sure that you have an incredible customer experience, a lot of people think that that's just during the transaction. And I know from looking at the information that you've put out there that you think that it should be before they actually engage with you, correct? When they engage with you, and then absolutely after they engage with you, they should have a certain expectation about the level of value they're going to get from you.
Absolutely. And I think in today's climate with real estate, it's more important than ever to be able to tell clients what value you bring to them throughout the transaction. So from the very first meeting, going over different duties that you perform as a realtor, setting expectations with them of how you're going to help them ultimately reach their goals is really more important than ever. We have some great training materials that we give our buyers from the very first time we meet. We present the new buyer-broker agreement to them, explaining that we do require exclusive representation in order to enjoy our services. We often compare it to a listing agreement. Every property that you see on the market, the seller sat down and come up with an agreement with their agent. And basically the same exact thing now is happening with buyers. We come up with an agreement, a service agreement. We explain what we're going to do and how we're going to serve those clients from the time that they're looking for the home, getting them connected with the right lenders, the right loan programs, and then ultimately getting them under contract on the home they want to move forward with.
Yeah, that's so good. So let me go back to something you said just a second ago, though. So you said it really quickly, but I think it's super important for agents to hone in on, especially as they're trying to make sure that they deliver that value to the buyers and sellers the way that's going to be important now, has always been more important, but going more important whenever we head forward. You said that you give the buyers some information on how the transaction is supposed to flow. Tell us a little bit about what that is, right? So when you meet with the buyer, you offer them some information about how things are supposed to happen, right? Tell us a little bit about what a buyer would expect to get from you.
Yeah, absolutely. For us, it's twofold. So we have a buyer's guide. We also sit down and just face to face. To me, a buyer meeting is just it's an opportunity to see if your personalities are going to work well together and if it's going to be a good business relationship for you. I'm a firm believer that it needs to go both ways. There's clients out there where they will be better served by a different agent other
Yep.
than me, just personality wise. I'm not for everyone, just as everyone is not for me. I think really identifying that right off the bat, also coming from a place of information and giving. Today, we're in a world where you can Google just about anything and come up with a response that might not be like 100% accurate to your particular area, but we're going to get
Right.
really close. And it's the more complex questions that people don't know to ask. Those are the kind of things that you need to talk to your clients about. So that way you show value, more value than Google. One of the things I do during a first tour is I walk around the house and I point out the eaves. I point out the areas where I often see damage in properties so that they're aware that if they're at an open house or if we're touring properties together, these are areas that they should be looking at. And then once we get the inspection reports and they start seeing these kind of little damages in different places, as I've recommended, they immediately know, wow, she knows exactly what she's talking. I know I'm in good hands. And so if you think about it, I think it's about leaving little breadcrumbs of information and like helpfulness to your clients so that they keep picking up new things each time. They see your value more than just opening the door. What are you going to tell that client that they can't get online? And so I think focusing on that, so many agents show up with their MLS sheets in hand thinking that they're prepared. But
Right.
I don't think that's really what clients are looking for. If they wanted the MLS information, they would just go on Zillow or Redfin, and most of the property details would pop up there. They want to know, what does a professional look for? Like, what are major items, what are red flags, and what are not? And so I think so much of our job is about setting expectations and creating a clear channel of communication. So that way people feel comfortable receiving that information. And again, notice your value.
Yeah, I love that. So what you're basically talking about is it's not just the what. They can get the what anywhere. It
Yeah.
really is about the how and the why. It's about why it matters that the eaves, that they know what they are, and how do you take care of that? Is it something that you would work through the contract on, or is it something that needs to be handled before that, or is it just something as the homeowner that you need to deal with? So I love it that you explain the house to them ahead of time so that they know what to look for, and like you said, it establishes that expertise with them, right, Ben?
Absolutely. And so I want to add on top of some, we're talking a lot about, gosh, these are my systems and these are my processes. We know for a fact, not only just because Caroline is amazing at what she's doing, but even talking from other agents, all of these successful agents, I'll tell our listeners, all these successful agents and brokers and owners, there's a common thread. They have a system and they have a process for what they do, because it's nearly impossible to provide an amazing customer service without a system or a process. Would you say that's accurate?
100%. I think as agents, we're targeted for so many new technologies and bells and whistles that are supposed to help us elevate the customer service. I think where a lot of agents struggle is not in acquiring these bells and whistles, so to speak, and not by not having a desire to provide that higher level of service, but in understanding and creating a clear plan as to how they're going to integrate these bells and whistles into their already existing process. I think everyone has a process, whether it's written out or not, whether you're using an Excel sheet or a CRM or a transaction management company software or transaction coordinator. Everybody has some kind of process that they go through if they're selling a home. And so figuring out you know what they say, the magic is in the details. And so it's looking at each of these like kind of milestones throughout the transaction and seeing, how can I make my clients more prepared? Or how can I make them feel more excited during this part of the process? How can I leave another impression for them that they're gonna remember when their friends and family are thinking about transacting down the road?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's
I was just going to say, so really, it's not only like having systems in place, but having systems in place that are going to help you implement those tools and be able to continually grow with you.
Yeah, it's the difference between adaption and adoption, right? So what they have to do is they have to take a look at how that works in their system, and then they have to be able to leverage a certain percentage of that new bell and whistle that they got. And so many times people think that they're going to pay the monthly subscription fee or they're going to buy something, and it's going to magically fix all the things that they do. And the reality is, it has to become part of your system. You have to adopt that into what you do. You really have to truly make that part of what it is, and not just keep doing exactly what you're doing and hope and sprinkling something on all of a sudden gives you some magical new formula of what to do. So tell us a little bit about your market, right? So you mentioned this before. Tell us a little bit about your market, where you're at, and tell us a little bit about how you make sure that you, whenever it comes to value, how you make sure that you bring value to the people that are in your marketplace. Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. We are in the San Francisco Bay Area, which, as most people know, is one of the most competitive real estate markets in the country. We have high price points. We also have a ton of realtors. Everyone you run across has a friend or a family member or somebody that's gotten a license at some point in their career or in their life. And I built my business. I opened Reward Realty in 2013. And so we operated as an independent brokerage for 11 years before recently, just April 1st, I moved my entire brokerage under under their white label program. I felt like this opened up a lot of doors for additional training for my agents, as well as creating a nationwide network for referrals and things like that as well. Part of that, and a part of the downline that we're building here, is agents will get a copy of our software that we are launching. And that software, it's called onrecord.ai. We're hoping to hit the market in August, right before Tom Ferry's the Summit conference. But basically, I've identified this need for agents in implementing tools into their business and creating these steady workflows, so to speak. Our software does that. It has it built out for you, month by month, touch by touch point, pop by gifts, emails, newsletters. We're teamed up with a few really fabulous companies. You'll be able to actually write your contracts within the system and have a lot of it automated and processed on its own. So for me, that is how I am helping agents put a plan in place where maybe they don't have one. And to remind agents that these touch points need to happen. How are you going to implement it? So I think that,
Right.
I hope, can really help agents elevate their game when they're out there working with clients and helping to build more of that referral network and that repeat business through a higher level of service each and every transaction.
Yeah, I love that. And so that brings me, I want to make sure everyone knows how to get in contact with you and connect with you, especially after hearing of all the things that you have to offer and the cool projects that you're working on as well. Why don't you share with the listeners, right? If someone says, hey, I want to learn more about that, or I just want to be connected with a really cool person in real estate, what's the easiest way for them to do that?
Yeah, you can visit our website, rewardrealty.org, or you can find me on Instagram at Caroline Hobbs, RE. That's CarolineHobbsRE. Yeah, and if you want to know more about the software that we're building, there's an interest list forming at onrecord.ai.
Wonderful. I'll make sure that I take all that stuff, as always, guys, and put it in the links in the description below to make it really easy for our listeners to get access to that. Caroline, we're so grateful that you came on to the show today. And we'll have to come on, once it's launched, we'll have to have a follow-up episode as well. So you can tell us even more about it and how it's going. I think that would be incredible.
Awesome.
Matt, anything else before I wrap it up and put a bow on it?
I don't think so.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on. Guys, you guys know how it is. We bring on amazing guests, just like Caroline, because Brokers Open Podcast is not just about open houses.
It's about open minds.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks.